Hi students, Pete Posner here. So today we're going to talk about the past continuous. Okay, so we use the past continuous to talk about a continuous action at a moment in the past. Okay, for example, here we have a situation. This is Jenny and Chris, right? And at 6 p.m. they were eating. Okay, so they went to the restaurant at 5 p.m. Okay, that's here. And well, they left the restaurant at 7 p.m. That's here. So that means that at 6 p.m. they were eating. That's a continuous action at a moment in the past. In this case, 6 p.m. Okay, and this is the form. Okay, the positive form first. So the subject, then was or were, and then the verb ing. Okay, so it's I was, right, and then verb ing, for example, playing, right? You were reading, for example. He or she or it was, yeah, painting, watching, snowing, right? We were and they were. For example, we were running, they were reporting. Notice the pronunciation here. The was or the were takes a weak form. So it's pronounced was, were. I was playing. You were reading. Okay, there's a weak form there. Okay, and for the negative form, you just add not after was or were and before the verb ing. Okay, for example, I was not playing or you were not reading. Okay, or you can use the contraction. Okay, so I was not or I wasn't driving. And then there's no weak form. Okay, I wasn't driving. You weren't writing. Okay. Okay, now we're going to look at the past continuous with the past simple. Okay, so we use the past continuous to describe an activity that was unfinished and interrupted by another action in the past. For example, they were walking home, past continuous, when it started to rain. So that action in the past simple interrupts this continuous action. Okay, in the same way, I was taking a shower when the phone rang. Okay, so here, for example, you have taking a shower, the continuous action, and there's an interruption here, right? The phone rang, and that's the past simple. So there are two clauses, right? For example, Chris was running to the bus stop, that's one clause, when it started to rain. That's the other clause. And this is the one that interrupts in the past simple, right? The continuous action. Chris was running. Okay, and we can move these clauses. Okay, so we can start with this clause first and say when it started raining, and then the other clause. Chris was running to the bus stop. Okay, again, when is used for the activity that interrupted. Okay, it started raining. Okay, you use the past simple started in the when clause. Okay. So this can be in the second position or in the first position. Okay, let's practice that. So make sentences with when. Okay, can you match A to C with 1 to 3? And remember, there are two ways you can start with the when clause or put the when clause as the second clause. Okay. So pause the video, take 1 minute to match those, and then we'll check. Okay, how did you do? So we have here, for example, A Harold was listening to music, right? We could match that with number 3, right? So we could say Harold was listening to music when someone rang the doorbell. Or when someone rang the doorbell, Harold was listening to music. Okay. B. Astrid was waiting for a bus. Okay. When it started to rain. Or when it started to rain, Astrid was waiting for a bus. Okay, and the other one, C, the child wasn't sleeping when his mother came upstairs. Or when his mother came upstairs, the child wasn't sleeping. Now we can also use while instead of when, right? So while is used for an activity that was happening, right? So we use the past continuous with the while clause, right? Contrast that with when we use the past simple in the when clause. Okay. So for example, with while, Katie heard her baby cry while she was preparing dinner. So while and then the past continuous. Okay, in contrast, when Terence went upstairs, that's when with the past simple, Catherine was sleeping. Alright. And like when, with while we can also change the order of the two clauses, right? So we can also start with while she was preparing dinner, she heard her baby cry. Okay, so now take 1 minute to make some sentences using while. Match A to C with 1 to 3, and we'll check together. Okay, pause your videos and do that exercise. Okay, how did you do? So letter A, Jerry dropped his phone while he was crossing the road. Or while he was crossing the road, Jerry dropped his phone. Alright. B, a shark came while Peter and Sally were swimming in the sea. Oh, that's scary. Or while Peter and Sally were swimming in the sea, a shark came. And C, the camera fell while I was taking a photo. Or while I was taking a photo, the camera fell. Okay, one more practice. Create a sentence using while or when. Okay, for example, Jeremy read ring the phone. Okay, so 2 possibilities, one with while and one with when. With while, the phone rang while Jeremy was reading, or with when, Jeremy was reading when the phone rang. Okay, so again, we have while with the past continuous, Jeremy was reading, and we have when with the past simple, Jeremy was reading when the phone rang. Okay, so why don't you do the same for these 3? Take 3 minutes and we'll check together. Okay. Okay, how did you do? Let's check the first one. Okay, so here you could say Nicole was preparing dinner when someone knocked at the door, right? Or remember, you can start with when someone knocks at the door, Nicole was preparing dinner. Okay, or with while, someone knocked at the door while Nicole was preparing dinner, or while Nicole was preparing dinner, someone knocked at the door. Okay, let's look at the second one. He was waiting at the bus stop when his friend called, or when his friend called, he was waiting at the bus stop. With while, his friend called while he was waiting at the bus stop, or while he was waiting at the bus stop, his friend called. Okay, and the last one, so we could say, for example, while Alice was eating dinner, she fell off the chair, right? Or Alice was eating dinner when she fell off the chair. Okay, finally, let's look at using the past continuous in questions. Okay, so basically, first you use the question word, right? Where, what, when, why. And then you have to invert the subject and the form of be. Okay, so first the form of be, was or were, and then the subject. Okay, and finally the verb plus ing. All right, and as with the affirmative, the positive forms, we also have a weak form for the questions. The negative form, we don't, okay, but we have a weak form for affirmative and questions, okay. So we have, for example, where was I playing last week? So it's was, yeah. Where was I playing last week? Or, um, for example, what were you reading at 8 p.m.? So it's were, yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's practice that with what questions? Okay, so we have prompts, right? First one, example, do you? Okay, so what were you doing? Okay, do the same for 25 through to 28. Yeah, take 3 minutes, pause your video, and then we'll check. Okay, let's check. So we have, what were they looking at? What were Jane and Michael studying at university? What was he carrying in his hand? What was that man on the train reading?